Alright, what's going on YouTube? Welcome to Hera versus IAmMagic. IAmMagic, an Age of Mythology player versus the big name from AoE 2, Hera. This is going to be a set of recorded games from the EGC Genesis $20,000 AoE 4 tournament qualifiers. I will apologize in advance for being a potato caster, but I've been casting this tournament the whole day. Currently it's 1 AM, and I think I've been casting non-stop for 14 hours now, so I've been casting quite a lot of recorded games from the other sets as well. So let's get going with the first game over here. I think if you have seen some from the tournament, you probably know what civilizations to expect over here. And yes, you guessed it right. It is going to be a French mirror to start the day with. So, the first map is always Dry Arabia, and it seems like in this tournament we're mostly seeing French being picked as a mirror. Once one player wins with a certain civilization, that player cannot use that civ anymore, so whoever wins this game will no longer have French available for the upcoming games. To the north of the map it is IAmMagic as red French, and to the south it is Hera playing as French as well in blue. I'm not gonna lie over here, I feel like I just want a little bit of civ variety because I'm running out of things to say, and I don't want to explain the same free concepts of a French mirror every single game I cast, because this is probably like the 15th time today that I'm casting a French mirror. Like, I don't mind any other civilizations really, it's just French mirrors are just starting to get a little too much. There has been a lot of debate by the people on this that, hey, French are OP. I feel like French are just easy to figure out. I think once people figure out the other civilizations, the French won't be as dominant as they are right now, but they're a very powerful civilization and easy to learn, so that's why people are so good with that, and that's the reason why this is currently the most dominant civilization out there. Looks like Hera managed to pick up quite a lot of huntables, some little sheep from potentially the base of IAmMagic even. I'm not exactly sure if he picked any sheep up from this part of the map, but he most definitely found this one. So Hera came forward with his scout, and he's gonna get a pretty decent benefit from that. Picks up quite a lot of sheep early on. So let's talk about sheep here real quick. So the thing is that in a French mirror, you're trying to delay yourself moving out to the huntables, or trying to delay adding farms. So the more sheep you gather, the more time you can spend in the safety or the safe vicinity of your town center. So collecting those sheep early on can be very helpful. Speaking of moving out, by the way, for food, we have a huge deer patch here for Hera. It's actually two deer patches merged together. IAmMagic will probably see that, and he knows exactly that that's the place to push. If Hera can defend that, it's gonna give him an insane amount of food income, simply because it's just going to be super efficient to have one meal here on 14 huntables. But if Hera can't protect it, he's gonna lose access to all huntables with no backup, so it's a bit of a double-edged sword right now. School of Cavalry coming in here for Hera, with 5 villagers building it. From what I've seen from other players, most of the time the players are going for the School of Cavalry with only 3 or 4 villagers. You see, Hera has delayed the lumber camp quite a bit. Most of the time players already start adding that lumber camp before clicking up, but Hera for now is just gonna go full knights over here. Meanwhile, School of Cavalry also coming in from IAmMagic. He is adding lumber camp at approximately the same time, but only building landmark with 3 villagers, so you see, his feudal age here will be quite delayed compared to Hera's feudal. Looks like we're gonna have a house here as well from Hera. The fact that he isn't really heavy on wood means that he won't be mixing in a second production building anytime soon, so no barracks for spearmen or no second stable for him. And the same will be the case for IAmMagic, so it's just gonna be pure old-fashioned knight wars with just one production building for both players. It's actually quite a lot of villas on wood for Magic now, so things might change in the next couple of minutes for him, because he's been adding villagers quite rapidly on wood, as compared to Hera, who still just keeps 2 villagers on wood. You see, Magic has a couple more sheep at his TC, namely 3. Hera's got a little more, so Hera's scouting early on is actually paying off as he comes up with a mill. Let's talk about Hera's gold mine, which is absolutely wonderful, by the way. Nicely positioned at the back of his base. Also, this market is sort of blocking a certain angle for the enemy cavalry to come in from. So, it's a rather well-defendable gold mine for Hera. It's a little open from the left side, but it's definitely one of the better gold generations. For aMMagic, his gold mine is a little bit more exposed, I would say, as he's gonna go for a tower that is trying to protect both the gold and the berries, but I'm not 100% sure if it protects either, to be honest, because it's kind of far from the berries, kind of far from the gold mine as well. I understand the concept, I just feel like it's sort of you're trying to appeal to both the gold miners and the foragers over here, and I'm just not 100% sure that this is gonna be efficient for either of those. Here comes a knight from Hera. After that charge in, the French knights also get a bonus damage, and that's how Hera yoinks that one villager and then disengages. That's a nice little touch at the beginning for Hera. He was up to feudal age a little faster, so he already has 2 knights out as compared to just 1 from his opponent. And if I'm not mistaken, aMMagic is struggling with production here. He doesn't have the food for knights. Now that is a problem, that's a serious problem for aMMagic right now, because in a French mirror he could easily get overrun by knights, and what's gonna happen when he gets overrun by knights is that he's gonna lose the berries. He loses the berries, it means that he's gonna have a limited amount of food, and that just means that he will be even more so overrun by knights. So that snowball effect could come into play really fast over here. Hera already with a 100 score lead, but the key difference I believe will be the knight numbers. So far I see 2 knights for Hera, there's a third one as well. Knights coming in once again, Hera looking to get another kill, and he does it. Such a good play from Hera as he picks off another vill from his opponent. Here's the deal. We now have 2 villagers of an advantage here for Hera. He has some damaged knights, but he can just pull them back home and heal them up. Let's see if he's getting chivalry anytime soon. Looks like the answer is no, but now he's got the goal to do that. Excuse me, that's actually... Wait a minute, I'm confusing the players over here. So Hera, no chivalry just yet for him, is a little long gold. aMMagic also kind of long gold over here, so neither of them are grabbing this upgrade right now. Looks like they want to prioritize knight numbers at this point. aMMagic's knights are full HP, whereas Hera's ones aren't, so this is the moment where Magic will try to force a fight. A couple more knights coming in here with their lances forward for Hera, so they will force Magic back for the time being. Hera is moving out for the hunt. As I said, this deer patch is going to be extremely efficient for him for quite a while. So if he can hold this position, it's going to be absolutely amazing. Grabbing that survival techniques upgrade would be really helpful for him, simply because a majority of his food income could come from all this hunt out here. So I'm curious if he's going to press that button, or maybe he's thinking about chivalry now. Looks like we're getting the answer. Neither the upgrade nor chivalry is coming in. It's just going to be more knights for the time being for Hera. Looks like he might be able to pick off the scout of the opponent, and indeed that's the case. That's going to be a very, very nice pick over there, because that limits the vision that aMMagic has around the map. So he will have limited information to work with, whereas Hera's scout, I believe, is still alive. Indeed, it is alive and well. There's a second stable coming in here for Hera. Most of the time, if you are going very heavy on the knights and you're not grabbing chivalry, you mix that chivalry upgrade in when you have the stable come up. So I would expect that upgrade to come in soon for Hera now. Looks like we're gonna have, what, 8 knights for Hera? Quite a lot of them are damaged, so I hate to repeat myself, but chivalry could actually benefit Hera now soon. Meanwhile, on the other side, we only have the School of Cavalry for aMMagic, so his numbers will fall behind compared to Hera's ones, simply because Hera's got 2 production buildings. aMMagic also moved out, and it looks like Magic is mixing in Spearmen. Now, once we get a decent amount of Spearmen out, Hera's gonna need something to react to that one, because Brute Force Knights won't crack it against Knights and Spearmen. It depends on how many Spearmen are in the party, and depends on how many knights Hera has, of course. Also depends on who the knights are able to charge in on. If they can charge on the spearmen, it's probably better. if they can charge on the opponent's knights and then the spearman can just close the distance and fight. That's not so good for the full knights player. But Hera will need something against the spearman eventually. And looks like a couple of knights are hiding down south here from IAmMagic. We got a defensive tower up and coming for Hera in blue. Meanwhile, we will have Hera as now with the survival survival techniques upgrade. He will have quite a decent food income here. He's got 10 villagers up north, so if this place ever gets raided, it's gonna be very exposed, and that's the reason why Hera is keeping a couple of knights back here. He's moving in with some more knights though, and you see, IAmMagic has to pull all the villagers from the berries over here, and I just feel like this fight is just showing pure sadness here for Magic. There's just gonna be so many villagers going down here, and I feel like it's already sort of spiraling out of control. The knights here from Magic trying to retaliate on the gold mine, but they will just run into Hera's knights. Hera is cleaning up the army of Magic at his base. He also killed quite a lot of villagers at Magic's base as well, but in the end, he's gonna lose some of his numbers to the Spearmen of Magic. Looks like right now it's a 39 villager count for Hera. Magic is at 32. So we could say that he needs some sort of magic to come back into this game, because this could snowball very, very easily, simply because Hera's got such an eco lead, and if Hera starts mixing in his own spearmen, it's gonna be even on the battlefield, but it's gonna be better for Hera in terms of eco, and that just means that at some point Magic will fall behind so much that Hera can just finish off the game. Defensive tower coming in on the berries for Magic. The tower will help scare away knights, but there is 18 vills in here, which means that if 10 knights come in, they will kill all but 5 villagers. 5 will be able to garrison into the tower, the rest of them will die, so that's something that needs to be considered. Here come the knights from IAmMagic. He could actually take a decent engagement over here, although Hera could try to yoink the weak knights. Let's see if he realizes what's up. Yeah, he turns back, takes down one of the weak knights, and he could try taking down the other one. That was such a good fight for Hera. Such a good fight. He sees which knights were weak, he turns back, and looks like Magic might be able to take down one knight here from Hera. But he loses track of 2 over here, and those are about to come in. They might be able to raid the wood line here. That's probably the most exposed area right now. Hera now grabbing Chivalry, and looks like he just wants to dive in on the isolated spearman. I like that, because 2 knights can take down the spearman here quite easily, and you're just sort of grinding down your opponent's spearman number here. Might have been a little bit of a too much of fighting here for Hera though, because he's gonna get forced back in the end. So he might lose his knight here. Magic trying to poke down those knights. Both of those are 1 hits away from dying, and that's 1. And the second knight is probably gonna go down as well. Still, at this point, if we look at Hera, first of all, Magic has 36 villagers and Hera has 46. So now that's like a 30% advantage. Pretty considerable for him. As I said, he also has survival techniques and a whole lot of huntables to work with. Whereas for Magic, he's got the berries out here and he's got the hunt, but he won't be able to control this patch of huntables early on, I would say. For now, Hera is full knights though, whereas his opponent is adding a lot more spearmen, so taking direct engagements is gonna be more and more difficult for Hera as the game progresses. He's still able to raid the gold mine of his opponent, which would also delay a Castle Age from IAmMagic, but I mean, Castle Age is not really an option right now for Magic with those resources anyways. So that's not really a big deal right now for Magic, so to say. The knights once again swoop in, and I think that's just enough for Hera to pick off another Vil. He's just tearing apart the economy of his opponent, and this is where I have to highlight that this sort of cavalry micro style gameplay is actually so good for Hera. The fact that our meta on Dry Arabia is French mirrors in AoE 4 right now helps Hera so much. He is known in Age of Empires 2 for having extremely good cavalry control with the scouts in AoE 2 in Feudal Age. He's just so good when it comes to finishing off low HP villagers. He's just so good with cavalry control in general. And the fact that cavalry control is the meta pretty much in AoE 4 helps him so much. Now that's a lot of spearmen that's chasing him. He could try mixing in some archers to pick them off, I feel like with the eco advantage, the most legitimate thing for him to do is just mixing in his own spearman and just sort of using the same composition, just having more eco behind it, type of an approach for him. Looks like we'll have a blacksmith up for magic, which means that he already has the infantry, or the, not even the infantry, just the melee attack upgrade for free. And it looks like now Hera commits against this one. He's gonna take significant losses, but I feel like he's satisfied with the type of fight he can take. He's trying to pull back the weak knights. It wasn't an ideal fight for him, but it's the type of fight which was at least even or so, which is good for Hera right now. Even fights mean that he will retain his villager advantage, and he can just leverage that as we go deeper and deeper into the game. So that's something that's worth considering. Still 1 town center, I believe, for Hera, indeed it is, and also 1 TC for Magic, who's dropping a second barracks right now on the left side of his base. Meanwhile, look at Hera's resources. As I said, it's a completely untouched French economy. Never was raided, never lost a single villager. Hera with all those huntables, he was also gotten wheelbarrow to buff these vills. So, with all that efficient economy, Hera is getting close to Castle Age, and that's something that can finish off a game here in this situation. He can heal all his knights back up, and once he gets to Castle Age, Veteran Knight upgrade coming in could be enough to swing the battle in his favor. You see, he's detaching 4 healthy knights, trying to get a raid in on the left side, potentially. The berries have all run out, so Magic now has to go back home, and now there is a big question here for Magic. Where is food income gonna come from? He's running out of huntables, he has run out of berries, and you see, now he has to start adding farms, but it's gonna be a pretty slow transition to farms. You see, he's just now going to send like 30 villagers on wood, so he is gonna have enough wood to make farms, but by the time those farms really come in, Hera's gonna be in Castle Age very, very conveniently. He's going up with the Guild Hall, in fact. I feel like when you go for such a aggressive French play, because Hera has been playing quite aggressive in early game, I think you can justify the Royal Institute as well as your Castle Age building. The fact that Hera is going for Guild Hall shows confidence in the fact that he's got the lead. He knows exactly that he's killed villagers from his opponent, he knows exactly that he's got the lead, so he can just go for the more economy-focused landmark, knowing that all he needs to do is make sure that he doesn't throw away this lead, and just try to expand that lead even further, and the Guild Hall is a very, very good building to do that. Knights coming in here to try and pick off 1 or 2 villagers, and that's gonna be, once again, just a couple of casualties here for aM.Magic. Every once in a while he loses 1 or 2 villagers, and it's starting to add up, to be honest. Hera is in Castle Age. Magic has very, very limited options over here. He's got his back against the wall, and it's just gonna be extremely hard to come back from this one, if not impossible. This is the thing that I really dislike in the French mirrors. It's not even the fact that everybody is playing French mirrors on Dry Arabia. The thing I dislike is that it's such a snowball civilization matchup, because the moment you fall behind, your opponent will overrun you with knights, and it's just gonna snowball out of control. The cavalry upgrades are now in from Castle Age, so you see these are veteran royal knights. This is not a fight that aM.Magic can take, but I'm not sure if he has an option. He's gonna have to fight this, but it's gonna be a defeat for him. You see, those knights are just absolutely smashing the spearman. Even, I think, with Feudal Age armies, Hera could have potentially won this fight, because he's got such a big of a numbers advantage. And the thing is that Hera doesn't need to fight that army right now. He can just start running around and slaying the eco of the opponent, build that lead even further, just keep raiding and raiding. You see, he's already torching down that tower, and I feel like Magic could tap out of this game any moment. As I said that, he's gonna call the GG. Hera's gonna be up 1 game against IAmMagic over here. A player that was considered to be a candidate to qualify to the main event of this event. I'm gonna quickly check out Magic's AoE 4 ladder rating. I haven't really seen a lot of games from him, but I've heard a lot of good things about him. So, where's Magic at? Magic right now is rank 41 on the leaderboard, well, you know, the leaderboard is quite flexible, so yeah, he's only 10 spots behind Hera. Hera is at 31. So, based on the ladder, it should be a rather even matchup. I feel like Magic was outclassed in here in the first one, however. The thing is that Hera's got a lot of tournament experience as well. I'm not so sure about Magic, so it helps quite a bit for Hera that he has played in a lot of high-priced tournaments where there is a lot going on. So he's able to have a very, very, very good focus on the game as well. As I said, I think that the cavalry micro setting is something that plays to his best strengths as well. He's just a player that loves cavalry micro, and this is exactly what he needs to do in this game, or at least in this French mirror. Now, here's the deal. With Hera winning the first game, he can no longer go for the French again. So what civ is he gonna go for? The map is going to be Altai, and the magic will stay with the French. We will actually see a rare cameo of the Russ here. Hera's gonna be picking Russ over here. A civilization that he practiced quite extensively. A civilization that we haven't really seen a lot in the tournament, and I'm surprised about it. Before the tournament, I have seen so many people saying that the Russ are so powerful, and then we have barely seen Russ being played in the tournament. It is the other civilization that has early knights available, and it has a very, very powerful economy early on. We'll have Hera on the right side as the Rus in blue, and on the left side is going to be IAmMagic as the French once again in red. So here's the deal with the Rus. You can approach this game two ways. A, you go for the Kremlin, which is going to give you a nice defensive landmark, and then you can play quite defensive, especially on this map, where Hera pretty much has to control this crossing and sort of just wall off this side and this side for protection. The alternative is that he can go for the Golden Gate, which would allow him to buy stone for a second town center. He's opening with a hunting cabin, and he's going to try to lure in wolves. That's pretty standard when you're playing as the Rus. You try to lure in wolves because every wolf that you kill gives you 25 gold. And the easiest way to kill them is actually to lure them close to your town center. Once the hunting cabin is completed, Hera will pop out 2 scouts from there, and he's gonna start killing huntables. Since this is the first time that I'm actually casting Russ in the entire tournament, I'm just going to explain how the mechanics work for the bounty system. So you basically get gold for every animal killed, and the idea is that once you get to a certain level of bounty, you also do get a food gathering rate boost over here. So you see, with those wolves going down, Hera is getting 25 gold each, plus now killing the huntables will give him a lot of gold. The reason why this is so powerful is because you don't have to mine gold in Dark Age to be able to go up to feudal. You see, you would need 200 gold and you already have that. That's the power of the Rus, and I feel like that's a very, very underrated bonus, at least in the tournament. Rus is extremely powerful, and we have seen that a lot in latter games. I'm very surprised that this civilization hasn't been picked more in the tournament. Or at least, they might have been picked in the earlier rounds by lesser known players, but in the later rounds we haven't really seen a lot from there. Plus there is also the hunting cabins, which give you a nice trickle of gold based on how many trees are in their vicinity, or at least how many trees there were in their vicinity when the hunting cabins were finished, because this trickle won't change even if all these trees are chopped down. So now, I feel like what Magic needs to do is try to kill the huntables himself, because if he kills the huntables himself, Hera won't be able to do it. If Hera can just get away by killing all these huntables here, killing the wolves as well, Hera's gonna have like 300 bounty, and that's a lot of gold for Hera to work with. Looks like the Golden Gate is gonna be the building for Hera, which is almost exclusively used for a single thing, and that is buying stone. The thing with the Golden Gate is that you can buy stone or any kind of resource, 150 resource, which could be food, wood, or stone, for 100 gold. That's an insanely good exchange rate. But you are limited in terms of transactions by the amount of supplies you have, and you get supplies over time. So you can't just spam the buttons and have an insane trade-off of your resources. That's not gonna work. You are limited by the amount of supplies. Now you can get a second supply quite early on, and that allows you to get 100, I think 300 stone over here. And if you have enough wood, you can just go for a second town center that way. That's probably the most efficient way in the entire game to get a second town center up without mining stone. In general, you see, the Rus don't have to mine gold to go up to Feudal Age, and they don't have to mine stone to get a second town center up if they go up with the Golden Gate. That's also 25 gold for Hera, and you see that already unlocks bounty level 2, which gives him 10% food harvest rate, plus he's gonna have a very, very nice gold bank over here. You see he's taking down wolves in here, and he's taking down the huntables as well. I don't think that you can get to bounty level 3 in a 1v1 game just by killing huntables, unless you start killing boars. You have to kill boars, which give you 75 gold. Magic is up to Feudal Age, no surprise. He's going for the Royal Knights. Whereas on the other side, you see Hera has already bought the 150 stone and he's waiting for that second supply to come in. Once that's available, he's going to buy another 150 stone for 100 gold and place second TC somewhere. Now it looks like he's just playing full eco mode. He's not adding a stable himself. If he added a stable, he could also make a couple of his early knights. Now the Rus early knights are not as good as the Royal Knights because the Royal Knights actually get an attack boost after a successful charge, and that's not something that the Rus early knights get. But it's still a unit that's capable of fighting off the knights, so that's something that needs to be considered. Hera is now in the possession of that second supply, so he's gonna press this button and buy 150 stone for 100 gold. Looks like there's gonna be a barracks here, so Hera just wants to boom. I actually like the idea. I think that's a thing that you can do with Rus against the French. The only thing I think Hera should do here is potentially go for some walls. As I'm saying that, Hera's gonna drop some palisade walls on the right side. So the right side will be walled. Now the big question for Hera is how is he going to secure gold for himself? Because you see both of his gold mines are quite exposed here and that's gonna be difficult to defend. Funnily enough, I feel like with this hill looking the way it is, the best thing for Hera is to give up on these gold mines, wall this off, and have this one as his primary gold. It looks a little cheesy, but it's probably the easiest way that you could get gold right now if you don't want to make military units, which could be the case for Hera. He is in the possession of a barracks, but that's basically it for him. Hera's gotten up to 405 bounty, which is impressive. If he has a couple more deer here, he's gonna be really close to that almighty 500 bounty for a 15% food gathering rate. Looks like the barracks is out here just to discourage any kind of knight from charging in here. There isn't really anything that comes out of this one for Hera, it seems. He has gotten a second hunting cabin up as well, which not only will allow him to pick up the food from the deer carcasses here, it's also gonna trickle him some gold. So I really love this hunting cabin placement here for Hera. He's playing on 2 TCs. His opponent is going to play on 1, and it looks like we're seeing an archer range coming in as well to try and pick off the spearman. Here's the deal. The Rus can have very, very good early defenses. Both their fortified palisade walls are quite powerful, and their defensive towers are also quite good. So, one of the reasons why I like playing Rus myself is because your early defense is actually pretty powerful with those defensive towers, the palisades as well. So if Hera gets a defensive tower up here, that's gonna help quite a bit. I think you can garrison 8 villagers inside a Rus tower. I'll have to double check on that, but I think you can garrison 8 vills in there. These fortified or wooden fortresses, they are called. They are basically fortified outposts. Wheelbarrow done for Hera, so he's going full eco mode right now. The question is, what is IAmMagic gonna do to punish this? So far it's 1 range, 1 stable worth of production. And that's basically it. Magic's resources are actually looking pretty close for a Castle Age click-up. Hera is not that much behind, he's a little lower on gold, but the food count is actually pretty good for both players. There's the Wooden Fortress. And the Wooden Fortress is also going to have an area effect, which is going to buff the amount of wood that you drop off at lumber camps inside the influence radius. This poor lumber camp is outside of that. But once Hera builds one over here, that should be good, and you indeed can garrison 8 villagers in those towers. So that's gonna help a little bit. Looks like Hera might lose that scout out there to the knight. The knight will disengage, and it very much seems like Magic is going into Castle Age here. He doesn't want to play aggressive. He probably feels like Hera's position is just too well fortified to try and risk fighting here. Remember that Hera is up 1 game, so Magic needs to be 100% sure that he's taking fights that he's capable of winning, because if he loses his knight numbers here and Hera just outbooms him, that's disaster. And maybe he has better chances in Castle Age where he can mix in some siege weapons potentially. Looks like he's going up with the Guild Hall, as we will have a couple more archers coming in. I feel like I know what Hera might try to do here in Castle Age. He's coming in with a high trade house for his Castle Age landmark. I think the plan is Cav archers for Hera. That would probably be the thing that I wouldn't be surprised about. I've seen Hera play a game with Russ against Doubt in the ranked ladder. Or, well, it's not really a ranked ladder, it's quick match, but technically there's a rating, so you can call it ranked, I guess. It's kind of clumsy ranked, but you technically have a rank, right? So you can call that ranked. So Hera has played a game against Doubt, and that was Holy Roman Empire against the Russ, and it was Cav archers. Looks like it's not going to be the case here for Hera, though. He's going to play just full knights here. Interesting decision, because the French knights will still be better in the long run than the Russ knights. Now, in Castle Age, the Russ has a unique upgrade, the Boyar's Fortitude, that's gonna buff the health of the knights, and that might actually make the Russ knights temporarily more powerful compared to the French knights. The big deal here is that Hera's high trade house might actually get denied. Oh, that's a disaster. If this doesn't go up, Hera is in trouble, because he's counting on that landmark to go up. Looks like it will be finished, though, as Hera right now is off from his gold. The Spearman actually can get some nice hits on the knights, but now the problem for Hera is that he's a little low on gold, so he's gonna have to be cautious about what fights he's taking and what not. The good thing for him is that he's got a very nice gold trickle from the hunting cabins and the high trade house as well. High trade house is basically a hunting cabin that generates more gold, so you see it gives you 83 gold per minute based on these trees over here, and it also spawns deer periodically, so that allows Hera to delay his farm transition. Looks like Hera is also using the market quite heavily. He's been selling resources. The same applies in the exchange rates. You can sell 100 resource for 150 gold. So you can buy 150 from any resource for 100 gold, and you can sell any resource, like 100 of that, for 150 gold. Of course, as I said, you're limited by the amount of supplies here. So looks like Hera is coming in with more knights. He isn't going for the knight upgrade though, so these are still feudal age early knights, whereas his opponent does have veteran royal knights with some archer support as well. Hera's landmark is under attack right now. He shouldn't really sweat this one, I would say, because that landmark is pretty sturdy. He needs to get his upgrades in before taking a fight. That's the crucial thing. Hera is at 54 villagers, IAmMagic is at 46. And as I said, Hera needs those upgrades before he can fight. Even if he gets the veteran upgrade in, it's just not gonna be as good as the French Royal Knights are. Because the French Royal Knights will get that extra attack boost after charging in, something that the Rust Knights don't get. And you see, Magic is trying to poke around that wood line, see if he can pick off 1 or 2 villagers from Hera, lower that villager difference a tiny bit. Hera looks like he is still not going for a knight upgrade, by the way, something that's now missing pretty badly. Boyar's Fortitude is a very, very expensive upgrade here, something that Hera won't be able to afford. As the knights are swooping in from the north, Hera could lose a couple of villagers over here quite easily. Indeed, a couple of villagers go down, also a house gets denied. And the big thing here for Hera, as I said, is that he's forced to fight with a feudal age army. Hardened Spearman, early knight is a feudal age army, versus veteran royal knights, that is a castle age army. And you see, these guys have 26 sword damage versus Hera's 19. That's a decisive advantage, I would say, for Magic's cavalry. And despite the fact that we have a lot of spearmen here for Hera, I still think that Magic has taken a good fight. Hera is able to fend this one off for the time being, so he lives to see another day, and I feel like now the knight upgrade is indeed coming in for Hera. So I think Hera is stabilizing, and when the dust settles, Magic's at 52 villagers, Hera is at 58. So Magic has managed to lower that villager gap a tiny bit. He also has the guild hall working for him. which is basically a building that deposits a certain type of resource to a store. And the more you have stored, the more resources you would generate. So it's an incremental bonus, sort of. Now, you can withdraw that amount of resources any moment, but of course, the longer you keep it in, the longer or the more resources you will have. So that's the advantage of this building over here. So for IAmMagic, he needs to keep those resources in there as long as possible. In like 5 minutes of a time, he's gonna have like 2,000 food in there. I've had a discussion with Also Jungle while I was casting the sets during the qualifiers on the official stream about people using it on food. And the reason why people are using this on food is because this way you don't need to add farms that early on. Like, you could use it on gold and wood, but the idea here is that if you make a villager, you can send it to wood or gold immediately. So it's gonna start gathering resources ASAP. Whereas if you go for farms, you first have to invest into a farm. So it takes a little more time until that villager actually returns the investment. So that's the reason why you're using the guild hall for food generation. You see, he just withdrew a bunch of food, and that he already used up, I believe, for knights that are queued up. So that's the idea here. You're using this to generate food for yourself, so you don't have to have that many farms early on. Looks like Hera has gotten Veteran Spearman upgrade. Knights are also in for him now. His Knights, you see, 230 HP versus 230. Plus 2 attack is in for Magic. That's because he has a Blacksmith up. There's a Springboard in the party as well. It looks like Hera's gonna take a pretty decent fight here. Those archers aren't really doing much so far, and it's a lot of spearmen poking down the Knights of Magic. In a match point situation, this is a disastrous fight for Magic, I believe. Hera is slowly grinding down the numbers of Magic. Now, Magic has some reinforcements coming in, and those Springboards are still able to take some shots out, dealing a lot of damage. Looks like Magic might be able to hold this line over here. It's difficult to tell if he's gonna have enough, but there's a couple more Royal Knights coming in, and it looks like that's gonna be just enough to hold this one. Hera will be forced back. He's down to 6 army, in fact, and if you look at IAmMagic, that's now 60 army. Look at the IQ balance, by the way. IAmMagic is at 1 villager on food right now. That's just insane. Hera goes for another defensive tower here. Also for a siege workshop, trying to mix in his own Springolds. But now those exposed gold mines are gonna start hurting Hera quite badly, because his gold income is gonna be in trouble. He's currently at 28 gold in the bank, and his gold income per minute isn't gonna be nice in the next 30 seconds either. Siege Workshop is up, but looking at Hera's resources, he's gonna struggle to afford a lot of those Springolds. He might be able to get 1 or 2 out quite easily, but his opponent seems to be much better set up for a multiple Springolds play here. You see, Magic isn't really bothering adding villagers on farms. In fact, he isn't even bothering adding villas at this point. It very much seems like he's like, okay, I'm just gonna send my villagers on berries, and I'm just gonna go full army production. So it's possible Magic will fall behind even more in terms of villager count, and he just wants to sort of snowball this game. He knows exactly that Hera's gold mines are exposed here, and I feel like for Hera, there's a couple of things that he could do. A defensive castle here would be pretty helpful, but if defensive castle is not really a thing, because that takes a lot of time to get to, it's pretty expensive on the stone cost, the best thing for Hera would be to mine this gold. It's not that far away from him, pretty isolated and very easily to defend. You see, you could just wall it off here and you would be completely safe. Is it ideal? Not necessarily, but it would actually give you gold income, something that Hera otherwise does not have. Like, he still has 206 gold per minute, but it's only from the high trade house and the hunting cabins that he's got. That's it. Everything else, in terms of mining, he's got absolutely no gold income, and that's gonna show soon. Some Springolds are still coming in, also increasing in knight numbers. Hera will probably try to take a decisive fight. Magic right now at 64 villagers, and Hera is at 69. Nice. So the villager count is evening out right now. Magic also floating a lot of resources. By the way, Hera has gotten to tier 3 bounty now that he has been killing the deer spawned by the Hydrate House, so he's gotten a 15% food gathering rate bonus now. Ooh, Hera's moving out to this gold mine. Sneaky. Not something that Magic sees. And that's gonna be pretty important. Hera's also gonna be able to access the berries over here, but the gold is the real big deal. Now, if Magic ever finds that, that's gonna be a lot of dead villagers for Hera, but for the time being, he's safe over there, and he's gonna have gold income. And Hera's a patient player, so he knows exactly that he needs to wait here, sort of turtle damage with the tower, and then jump on the spring golds. Can he fight this right now? I'm not so sure. It's 14 knights and 6 spring golds from Magic. And for Hera, it's only 10 knights and 2 spring golds. We also have 15 spearmen in the party. But, ooh, Hera pops out the spring golds, takes down 1. He loses 2 spring golds, though, in just a split second. That's just a lot of firepower to handle for Hera. Hera will need to dive into the knights and snipe down the spring golds here. That's exactly what he's doing. He's coming in with the torches. Oh, I think that the knights just struggle to pathfind their way up to the hill against those spring golds. The spring golds of Hera are also being taken down by Magic. The spearmen actually take a pretty decent engagement here, but the spring golds are still alive and they're just doing so much damage. Archer's also picking off the spearmen quite rapidly. And Hera is once again going to get forced back. He just doesn't have a big enough mass over here. And while there isn't really a lot of archers left, those 4 or 5 archers that are still alive are just doing so much work picking off those spearmen. And, as I said, it's not a lot of archers, but it's just enough to pick off the spearmen that Hera has. The spring golds are not particularly good against buildings, so you see, by itself the spring gold would take a lot of time to take the tower down, but now Magic sees the blood in the water and he's gonna move in with knights. He might be able to intercept that spring gold as well. Hera tried to take a shot on the spring gold of the opponent, but that's not going to kill the spring gold from Magic. And now Hera's gold mine here is in jeopardy. A couple of villagers also go down. Archers once again in the party to try and pick off the spearmen. I didn't see a single arbaletier right now from Magic, but that could also be an option here as a support unit for Magic. Some spring golds are coming in. No more spring golds from Hera. And as I said, now the question is, will those knights from Magic ever find this part of the map? Oh boy, Hera is in trouble. Boy oh boy, is Hera in trouble. He actually pulled the villagers in time, so he saw the knights going that way. The problem for Hera... Can he hide the veils in the stealth forest? Don't tell me. Oh, Hera needs to stop running, and he's going to sneak past those knights. I don't think this was cautious from Hera. I think he just right-clicked them south and was just running for his life. But he actually does manage to hide from those knights. He's going for this gold mine now, which is actually a problem because these knights might just try to camp here. So Hera's villagers might still be picked off over there, and now Hera's moving to that other gold mine. That's the gold mine that he needs, I believe. Meanwhile, the siege workshop is going down from Hera. Currently, it's 76 villagers for Magic. Hera is at 67. So Hera wasn't able to increase his economy in the last 2 or 3 minutes, simply because he has been pushed so hard. He had to run with his vills. He had to spend a significant portion of his food to just maintain army production, and he probably had some TC idle time because of that. In fact, right now both town centers are idle. Oh, the knights are coming back, and they could find the villagers of Hera over here. Those knights know exactly that Hera is somewhere around over here. He has to be mining gold somewhere. Wait a second. They must have seen those vills. The mining camp is visible. If Magic looks over here, he should know Hera is there. He has seen the mining camp. Those knights are galloping away though, so Hera's once again gonna get away with that, as the Hydrate House seems like it's gonna go down here. That's the first out of the 3 landmarks that Magic needs to destroy to win the game. The other one is the Golden Gate here, and the last one is the Town Center here. All of them are within range for him. Looks like Hera is about to launch a counterattack with knights. He loves to do that in Age of Empires 2, just raid his way back into the game with cavalry. That feels like his only option, honestly, because he can't stop the direct push from his opponent right now. But it looks like aM.Magic is gonna pull the knights as well, to just try and take an even fight here, grind down Hera's numbers, and then while he's doing that, he can keep pushing into Hera's base. Looks like Hera's repairing that Hydrate House with 3 villas. This is just enough to keep it alive against 4 Springolds. Now that the Knight also joined the party and the villagers are gone, the Hydrate House goes down. Meanwhile, Knights are chasing down Hera here, and I just feel like Hera has limited chance of coming back into this one. In a long game, maybe. I just feel like the problem that Hera is facing right now is that his army numbers are just way inferior. IAmMagic is like 50 army, Hera is at 37. In fact, I'm actually surprised that Hera is at 37 army, because it doesn't seem like he has that much. Where is it even at? Ooh, he's massing a lot of spearmen back at home. So, if he gets a good raid in with the Knights, there is still a decent chance for him. Currently, Hera is at 109 population, his opponent at 144, so population lead on the side of a red player. And you see, there is enough archers here for Magic now to pick off Hera's spears. That's the problem. Hera is mostly Knight and Spear, his opponent is Knight and Archer, and Knight and Archer should be able to beat Knight and Spear if you micro your Archer as well. Looks like we'll have a second town center in for a red player, so IAmMagic is going to take over in terms of economy. A couple of reinforcing archers were picked off by Hera here. That's a nice find for him, trying to lower the amount of units that he's facing. Magic also mining stone here. I wonder if that's going to be for a third town center, because he could afford a third one right now. Alternatively, he could think about a castle or a keep himself, because he's got such a big army that he could just drop a keep here in the face of Hera, and that would be pretty massive. Looks like here come the Knights. Hera is still trying to do some sort of damage to Magic's base, and I feel like Magic's cavalry failed to do their charge. Wasn't ideal, but still, I feel like the Knight numbers are just better here for Magic, and he's gonna scare away Hera for the time being. Magic is not using that stone for another town center, so I feel like it could be castle time. Speaking of castles, if you place one over here in the middle, you could secure that sacred site. The other 2 sacred sites are in the northern and the southern corner of the map. So you would need all 3 of those if you want to go for a sacred site victory. But who wants to go sacred sites when you got a bunch of veteran royal knights in here? This is the moment where the Royal Institute would be very, very helpful for Magic, so that he could get the unique cavalry HP upgrade for the French. Because, yeah, the guild hall is definitely helping with the economy. You see, he could withdraw 3,000 food from this one any moment. But you also gotta consider that those upgrades could be extremely powerful, because the Royal Institute also allows you to get those upgrades, the unique upgrades of the French, at a discount and independent of age. Ooh, the Knight actually finds this gold mining operation from Hera. Hera's gonna be able to clean this one up, but the big thing here is that Magic now knows that there is a gold mine here. He won't care though, he's just gonna drop a keep here right in the face of Hera. That's actually 2 of Hera's gold mines out there. Hera needs to fight this one. This game is gonna come down to this fight, I believe, and I think there is enough archers here for Magic to just pick apart all those spearmen. This nice choke point is actually helping so much for the archers. Springolds are in the party as well, but I think that Magic should be able to get that keep up. And now with that keep around, he can just pick off all those spearmen. Magic is still at like 60 army, and Hera is at 33 and dropping quite rapidly. I feel like with those knights soon taking an engagement against the knights of our red player, Magic is gonna take this game, and we're going into a decider game in between these two for a chance to play in the decider set of the qualifiers. So the winner of this one doesn't get into the main event yet. The winner of this one has to win one more set to get into the main event. Very, very nice game, I must say. I'm a little disappointed that, you know, you can't watch the live game statistics after watching a recorded game. Would be nice to take a look at those stats out there. But I feel like the key thing was that Hera just struggled to maintain his numbers. His early eco advantage was nice, but he always had to take bad fights simply because he never had the numbers to take good fights with. It was always like, okay, I have 3 Springolds, but my opponent has 6, so he's gonna be able to one-shot my Springolds, whereas I might not be able to take down more than 1 of his Springolds. So he was always forced to take some bad fights simply because he was outnumbered in most cases. And that, in the end, results in a defeat. Looks like his home map is going to be Lipony. And now that French has been a victory for both players, neither of them can choose that civilization. Let's see what Hera does against Magic here in game number 3. Looks like we'll have a civilization matchup that we haven't seen a lot of in this tournament so far. Rus versus Abbasids. So Hera remains with the Rus, a civilization that he's pretty familiar with. Whereas on the other side, we'll have Magic as a red Abbasids. The two players spawn extremely close to each other. Holy potatoes, look at this. This is actually the gold mine for Magic, and it's like halfway in between him and Hera. This is gonna be a very, very interesting game here, because the two players are so close to each other. Hera is already moving out for the Huntables here. In general, the map looks very weird, because like down south, there's a lot of resources, old forests, 2 sacred sites, and on the north, you just have the two players, sort of. So, let's talk about Hera, because he didn't have a lot of time, of course, to learn the game, just like other players, and I had a quick chat with him a couple of days after launch. In fact, it all started out with a Twitter post from him. He posted that if there's anyone... I think he was specifically calling out some StarCraft pros or so. Like, he was basically asking for someone to teach him a couple of tricks in AoE 4, or so. So he wanted for someone that helps him learn AoE 4. And I also messaged him saying that, look, I've been in streamer preview, I've been in the alpha versions, so if you need any kind of advice, just let me know. And he asked me a question. He asked me what civilization to learn early on. He was looking for 1 or 2 civilizations that he can learn at a pretty good level so he can play with them in tournament. And I give him a combination of civilizations. I said the easiest civs to learn is English and French. And I actually said learn one of these two and then choose Rus or Abbasids as the other, because Rus and Abbasids are intermediate difficulty, but they can also be very, very powerful. He decided to go with the French and the Rus from those. So, one thing I want to highlight over here as Hera is just very, very busy killing those Huntables already at 165 bounty, is that his opponent, IAmMagic, was able to pick up so many sheep. I think he pretty much picked up all the sheep from Hera's base. You see, Hera's at pretty much 3 sheep left, right next to his TC. His opponent is just swimming in all these sheeps right now. It sounds kind of stupid, but, you know, if you have a lot of resources, we're saying you're swimming in resources. If you have a lot of sheep, I guess you're swimming in sheep. Military wing here for IAmMagic. That's pretty unconventional for the Abbasids. Usually they go up with the economy wing, so they get the villager discount, because that's such a big thing. But the military wing can work out, and the reason why that can work out nicely here is because you're up against the Rus, who could potentially go for early knights, and you would go for spearmen supported by camels. The camels would increase the armor of the spearmen, you could potentially get the phalanx upgrade, and the two players are very close to each other, so it's a completely legitimate strategy for IAmMagic to just go for the infantry push on Hera. Hera's going up with the Golden Gate, so once again he's going to try to do the same thing, try to buy himself a second town center. There is definitely some risk involved in here if you think about that. As you see, Magic is trying to come in and snipe the Huntables himself to prevent Hera from grabbing the gold from that. Now, Hera is already at 375 bounties, so he can't prevent Hera from having the second bounty level, but he managed to make sure that Hera wasn't able to get as much gold as he wanted to. That could have been like 30 more gold for Hera out there. So the thing I don't like here for Hera's double TC idea is that the two players are so close, and Abbasids get the infantry siege upgrade for free, which means that IAmMagic can make a ramp push anytime he wants. And I feel like that might be the thing that we're about to see here. Magic is going for the barracks. You see that building the wings of the House of Wisdom is a steady 2 minutes time for Feudal Age, so there's no way for Magic to accelerate his Feudal Age. Whereas for Hera, of course, he can just mix in a couple more villagers to build that landmark. Looks like we'll have a stable coming in for our blue player. and Hera should start buying stone for that second TC soon. It's not urgent because he's low on wood anyways, but he's going to start buying stone at some point. Meanwhile, he's actually able to get a couple more wolves killed, so you see he's at 440 bounty. Hera is just so good gathering all that bounty early on, and that's so impactful, because you are gonna have a big gold bank because of that. You see, Hera hasn't started mining gold even, and he already has 300 gold in the bank. Plus, he has been making knights for some time now, so that extra gold is just so helpful here with the Rus. Spearmen are coming out right now for a red player, no hardened upgrade on them just yet. Defensive tower coming in on the berries. Looks like Magic will try to play Spearman defense into aggression, and he really doesn't need to push that far, to be honest. His opponent is just right next to him. Looking at Hera, he still hasn't started buying the stone he needs, so it's possible he will just keep the Golden Gate in there for now, and he just use this super trade ability whenever he needs it, and he's not going to use that on a second town center. Because it kind of seems like he's going to play knights, and now it's going to be archers. I feel like if the two players were further apart, Hera would have gone for a second TC. Knowing that his opponent is so close, he probably decided not to do that. Now, it's only Spearmen right now from IAmMagic, and if Hera's got a couple of archers out, those can be an easy target for the archers coming from our blue player. Spearmen will try to fend off this charge over here. Remember, these are not hardened, so they're fairly fragile, but look at what Magic is doing. That's such a good micro from him. He's jumping back into the tower. I think I've actually seen maybe one game from this player. I'm not 100% sure, but I've seen this before. I just got a massive deja vu feeling here. I've been casting for 14 hours non-stop today, so my brain might be completely dead here, but I really had a deja vu feeling about this specific fight over here with the Spearman jumping into a tower, and in my mind, I had something very similar in my memories. Anyways, looks like the Spearman here will be picked off by the Knights. As I said, that hardened upgrade missing is gonna hurt pretty badly for Magic, because those are Dark Age Spearmen that don't perform that well against those Feudal Age Knights. So one villager went down here. Obviously, protecting the berries is a priority for the Abbasid player over here, simply because that's a very reliable and fast source of food for the Abbasid player. We got Golden Age Tier 1, and now we're getting the Camel support upgrade in as well, giving extra armor to the Spearman once we get a Camel in, but I don't see a Camel yet, and the only Camel that you can go for is a Camel Archer. Indeed, here come a couple of Archers. At some point, we'll see a Camel Archer simply to boost the armor of these units, and we shouldn't underestimate the Camel support. It's a very powerful technology, because it's gonna give you one extra armor over the opponent's Archers, so in an even number Archer fight, you just win against the opponent's Archers. So you see, with Camel support, once it finishes, right now these spears have no armor, and once this upgrade comes in, the presence of this Camel will give them some extra armor. You see, 1 melee and 1 ranged. For archers, that ranged armor actually matters quite a lot, and for the spearman, the melee armor is pretty nice against those knights as well. Looks like a stable will also be mixed in here by our red player. Meanwhile, for Hera, he is still playing on 1 TC. He's got a blacksmith up, but he hasn't gotten a single technology out just yet. So, as things stand, now the Camel is in, and this is where the Abbasids can start thinking about snowballing the game, because now they got the Spearmen. The only thing that's really missing is the Hardened upgrade, which is really missing for Magic. But once he gets that, and he mixes in some Archers, his army is gonna be way better than Hera's one, simply because that Camel buff is not something that Hera has anything to do with. Like, he can try snapping off the Camel, but that's gonna be quite difficult. That Camel is kind of tanky, and it can just run back. So you can sort of have that Camel stay behind your army and just buff it from behind. That's the only reason why you have a Camel in there. Looks like a couple of Horsemen will also be mixed in. Horsemen I don't necessarily like over here. I think that they would die quite easily to the Knights, as Hera kills the boar. Now that is a beautiful move. You see, killing a boar actually gives you 75 gold per boar, and that pushes Hera into the third tier of bounty, giving him 15% food getter rate, plus it also increases his hunting cabin gold getter rate, and of course it's just 75 gold by default as well to Hera's bank, something that helps immensely. A blacksmith is now coming in for magic right now. Looks like Magic with the Camel Archer might be able to pick off the scout of Hera over here. Hera will try to run away. Hera's Knights have been kind of defensive so far. He's also mixing in quite a lot of archers, and I feel like we're gonna have one decisive fight here. Both players being cautious with their armies. Magic is gonna be off from gold for a moment, and we shall see how good those horsemen will perform. I just don't think they will do well. They don't have any pierce armor here, so the archers actually perform really well against them. Compared to the knights, knights have 3 pierce armor, horsemen have 0, so the archers do way better against the horsemen than they do against the knights. Now, of course, once you have the camel around, the horsemen won't get that boost, because that only applies to infantry, so the horsemen will remain the same. That's why it's such a weird decision from aM.Magic here. Looking at this fight over here, Hera has no blacksmith upgrades in. I think he's got the attack, actually, but not defense upgrades, whereas there is the defense upgrade by the camel here on the infantry and the archers. Nice micro by Hera, though. He has been picking off units left and right. And since there is no blacksmith upgrades yet for aM.Magic, it's not like he can actually leverage a massive lead. Still no hardened spearman for him. But I think that right now the spearman is just a buffer in front of the archers, so your key upgrades will probably be Iron Undermash and Steel Arrow. In fact, we're seeing the defense upgrade coming first for Magic. I can see that being a thing, simply because he's up against a lot of archers, so he just wants to make sure that his archers just don't die, and the same applies to his spearmen. Archers will try to pick off an archer here from Magic. Magic is thinking about charging with the cavalry, but for now, he's just gonna keep those sort of as a meat shield type of a unit. Hera is also tempted to charge in on those archers. Now, the difference between the Russ and the French knights play in Feudal Age is that the Russ knights can't heal themselves, so they will stay at the HP they're at. It's not like you're gonna disengage and heal them up like the French can. This is one of the reasons why I'm vouching for French to have Chivalry moved to Castle Age, because I think that's a little too powerful in Feudal. Big fight coming in here, though. The camel is gonna buff those spears, and I think the defense upgrade is gonna be in a couple of moments for the pierce armor. So that's gonna make life much easier for those spears and also those archers. You see, it's gonna be 1 range defense with the camel down. It would be 2 with the camel around. Nice micro by Hera, by the way, to pick off the camel. So Magic is gonna have to make a new camel here, which is very expensive. 180 food and 60 wood to make that camel out there. Archers taking this fight. This is actually a reasonable fight for Hera right now. He's got the attack upgrade in and the defense upgrade as well. On the other side, only the defense upgrade for aM.Magic. So currently, Hera's archers are better. Once a camel comes in to buff this army, it's gonna be better for Magic, but I just don't see that camel coming in anytime soon. And that's the problem that he's facing right now. He's got a lot of spearmen, but those can be picked apart by the archers quite easily. And there is just nothing that can kill the knights once the spearmen are gone. And you see, at this point, Hera is working towards isolating the spearmen from the archers. It's actually a pretty reasonable defense here for Magic. I just don't know where this game is going for him, because behind this one, Hera's got a massive map control advantage. Being able to take the hunt is huge. He's taking the boar over here, which is 2,000 food as well. So if you look at Hera's resources, those are looking way better. Resource income per minute also probably in his favor. In fact, Magic is completely off from gold. I just feel like slowly we're seeing Magic's numbers being ground down here. 43 eco and 24 army for Hera. Magic is at 18 army only, and he's got way weaker units. So even though his villager count is the same as Hera's one, I just feel like the horsemen don't do a lot here. You would expect the horsemen to perform pretty well against the archers, but that only applies if the horsemen have good numbers, and that's not what we are seeing here. Just insufficient amount of horsemen here. And the difference maker could have been another camel for Magic. There is just none of them right now. And that's the problem that he's facing. With the camel support upgrade, if you lose that camel, you basically have no boost. And your opponent is just gonna overrun you because the camel takes quite a lot of resources to make, so losing that is actually very, very heavy on your economy. You see, losing a camel is 180 food and 60 wood. That's the price of quite a few archers, if I may say so, especially in the food cost department. Tower goes down here from IAmMagic as the archers are crawling closer and closer to those very important berries here. If Hera gets to those berries, that's gonna be a disaster for aM.Magic. I think the tower is gonna go up, but not all villagers will be able to fit in, and this is one of those fights where Hera just needs to feast on those villagers, take down as many as he can, and sort of carve out an advantage over here. Villagers trying to make it back to the TC, but I feel like this is the end for aM.Magic here. Indeed, he taps out as the knights surround his archers. He knows exactly that this game is gone for him. I understand the concept, and I think he was expecting the rust from Hera, so that's probably the reason why he picked the Abbasids, but he never really was able to get a powerful army up. It was mostly just Dark Age spearmen supported by some archers, and well, I think I like the camel support idea from him. It really needs a pretty big mass of units to really pay off, because if you don't have a big mass of units, your opponent can just jump on your camel with like 10 archers, pick it off, and suddenly you don't have that boost going in for you. This means that Hera's gonna move up to the final round of the qualifiers over here for a chance to play in the $20,000 EGC Genesis main event. He would be one of the 8 players to do that, should he be able to win the final round.